Hello everyone, thanks for joining me on our morning moment today. I'm here in my backyard with my little dog Indy, who is enjoying the vibes. This last Sunday, Pastor Brian talked about the story of Hannah. And when I think of Hannah, I think of the word faithfulness and what it means to be faithful to God through and through, no matter your circumstance. And if you remember the story of Hannah, she was barren and she went before the priest Eli and was praying. He mistook her for a drunk. She said, no, I'm a drunk. I'm just a woman in desperate need of a touch from God. And he kind of flippantly gives her a response to say, well, may the Lord grant your request. She goes on her way. But instead of viewing it as a flippant response, she views it as an actual blessing from the Lord. And in such, God does bless her and gives her the son. And as the story goes, her plan was all along that if God gave her son, she would dedicate him to the priesthood, which means that he would be raised by the priest in the priest's home to be an agent of God. And so her son is born, and the plan was that when she had weaned her son, that she would take him over to Eli and give him up to be into this role, which is an incredible sacrifice. And so when the time came to be weaned, we see this 1 Samuel chapter 1, about verse 24. Something unique we see in this passage, that she's going to offer her son quite literally as a living sacrifice into God's kingdom. But in such, she also brings a bull and she brings a wineskin. And I think it was very fascinating that the scripture highlights that aspect. And I remember in particular one day in class, we were talking about this idea, and we were highlighting the fact that this is interesting. Why is she bringing a sacrifice when she's already given her son as a living sacrifice? And I remember my professor kind of leaned back and smiled. And he said, perhaps something that we can learn here is to never go before God empty-handed. And that line has always stuck with me. Never go before the Lord empty-handed. That in our process of worship, in our process of entering into the presence of God, we go with something in our hand, we go with something to offer. Well, it might seem like a sacrifice in so much as we're losing something. But I think the principle that Hannah taps in here and the invitation for us is that when we go before God empty-handed, well, there is slightly less that God can use to pour into us. But when we go before God with something that He is able to take and we offer God something, that opening of our hand, that opening of ourselves, that giving God more of ourselves is an opportunity for God to give more of Himself to us. And perhaps that's the beauty in worship, that when we go before God offering something, offering ourselves, even something that's costly to our hearts and ourselves, well, that cost is exchanged for God's goodness with our open hand and our open hearts to receive more of the Spirit, which is far valuable than riches and gold. And so I think the invitation here is as we see in Hannah, despite her offering her son as a living sacrifice, she still went before God with something to offer. And in there lies the principle. When you go before God in worship, when you go to get in the presence of God, when you need just an encounter with the Spirit, don't go empty-handed. Go with something to offer. Not because of the principle of going to give God something to get something. Rather, go with the opportunity that more that we give to God, there's a recognition that opens us up. That opens me up. It opens you up. And in that opening, God is able to come and fill in a way that's transformative. Perhaps the next step is to slow down, to take what's in our heart, to take some of the things that might either be baggage or things that our heart clings to and say, Lord, what could this opportunity be if we give this to you? That is an invitation worth exploring. That's what I'm going to work on this week and encourage you to do the same. May the Lord inspire your heart. May your worship grow in depth in a way that will radically influence how you live your life. And may you never go to the Lord empty-handed. Have a great day. See you soon.